This is Solo P1. Welcome to the Chinese Grand Prix race weekend. I'm sorry, guys, there was a bit of technical difficulties about half an hour ago. We actually started the stream, but there was echo in the stream. There's some gremlins got in the computer. We don't know which side it was on. It could have been on my side or Total Hammer's side. But we decided to start the stream and restart it. I hope you guys can come and join us because we had about 8 people in the stream. If you guys can come along, if you're watching now, like that video and come in and join us for this weekend review. Before I start this review, I'm going to bring in my co-cues, my partner in crime, Toto Abba. And I said that with anger because I am angry. No, not really. Big up, Toto. Yeah, Toto's angry. We're both angry. We're just trying to style it. We actually, like I said, we started the video and there was a gremlins in the computer. We don't know which side it was on. We're not technical savvy, but we're here now. We're going to talk about the Chinese Grand Prix weekend. I'm going to ask Toto briefly, how was your weekend, bro? And how, because I know we ain't done a stream in a couple of days. How was your stream? Did you put it on X as well?
Yeah. But yeah, weekend's been going good, man. Just been streaming, catching up on my content. That's what it's all about, really. Keep an eye on the news, we're a sports channel in it, so any news that's there, hopefully proper news, like accurate news. We'll probably report it on the channel most likely. But yeah, overall, just been chilling, really. Yeah,
that's what I've been doing, really. Spending more time with family. The weather, we had one good day of weather here in London, and that's it, really. Back to rain again, but hopefully the sun's gonna come. I don't like it too hot for me. When the weather comes, I like it. I like the spring weather, but I don't like it too hot in the summer, especially when it gets to July. Don't like the English weather, man. Like if I go abroad, if it's Spain or the Caribbean, yeah, it's good. But not this English weather when it's sun, it's just humid. No breeze. I like it by the beach, you get me? But yeah. But enough of us talking about our holidays and talking about the hot weather because we live in the UK and that's lack of. So we're going to talk about what happened over the weekend, the Grand Prix. But before we start getting into the Grand Prix, whoever's watching this on the replay or live, can you please smash that like button? It is much appreciated. So let's start with Lewis Hamilton and the Ferrari, Charles Leclerc as well. Statement coming after the race. I didn't actually get this news because when the race finished, I thought, that's it, the race is finished. And it was early hours of the morning. And then I went to sleep for a few hours. But when I woke up, I got this alert on my phone saying that Lewis Hamilton and the Ferrari has been disqualified from the Grand Prix. And I was thinking, whoa, what? Why has he been disqualified? I hope he hasn't lost his pole when he sprint qualifying and qualifying race. So I started digging deep. I looked on the F1 website, F175. Lewis, he says, I got it quoted here. I'm put the quote from the F1 website. It says, Lewis Hamilton has been disqualified from the Chinese Grand Prix after a rear skid block on his Ferrari was found to be under the minimum thickness required and the technical regulations, meaning that both of the team drivers, Ferrari, Lewis Hamilton and Charles Leclerc, have both been disqualified. It says that Charles Leclerc's car was underweight. So what's your thoughts on all this, Toto, when it came in?
Yeah, I think considering like sprint qualifying where Lewis was doing ever so well, getting pole, winning his sprint race as well, I was thinking, yeah, Lewis Hamilton's gonna have a good pace coming to this race qualifying, if you want to call it that way. But just to see a drop of pace like that is unbelievable. Going into the race, Leclerc had front end plate damage. He still managed to have more pace over Lewis. So I was thinking, yeah, there's got to be something wrong there. I was just raising suspicions, and like I thought, there was a suspicion that Leclerc's car was underweight. Of course, Hamilton was penalised as well, but he was only penalised for like a thick cut, something that it was too thick on his car. I forgot what it was called now. But Leclerc's car was 1 kg underweight, which is probably giving the advantage in straight line speed and cornering speed. So you can see that Lewis's car was slower than Leclerc's, and we all saw that in the race, which is a bit weird considering a good sprint race win. Yeah, over the McLarens as well, and McLarens are quick.
Yeah,
we'll just see that change of pace where Ferraris come from like 1 and 2 all the way down to like 6th, 5th, whatever. Yeah. Right? It was weird. So yeah, that's my thoughts, and it was weird in my opinion, but you know, like I thought there was something going on.
Yeah, when I first heard the news, like I said before, when I first heard the news, I thought Lewis Hamilton's probably going to lose all his points through his sprint qualifying, and then like you said earlier, you said before we started the video, you said no, it's not, he's just losing it for the race, but it's still a shame. What was weird for me is that that Hamilton was doing so good, right, in sprint qualifying and qualifying. Obviously you got pole and he won the race, but what was weird for me is when Lewis Hamilton after the race, he said we changed a couple of things on the car and it didn't work out. Now we know Lewis Hamilton's got a habit of doing this, right? Because when he was at Mercedes, he used to have brilliant cut and practice, and even Q1. But when it got to Q2 and Q3, his pace dropped off. What he used to say all the time, he used to say, "Oh, we changed a few things and it didn't work out." Now, I don't understand why he had to change, because we know we won the sprint race and we know we got qualifying. Why did he have to change for? I don't understand why he has to tinker with stuff, because when you watch the race, which we'll get into in a minute, you could see that his pace dramatically decreased compared to what it was in the sprint race. I just don't understand why he had to tinker with it. What's your thoughts on that before we start getting onto the review? I'm just putting in these stuff on there.
I don't know, because the sprint weekend and the sprint race, they were doing so well. Yeah. Ferrari, so why change stuff? Especially Lewis, like why change Lewis's car when he was already doing well? I'm sure McLaren and that wouldn't have done it. Maybe change it just a little bit, but why change the weight of the car? Just why change it when it was already good? You know what I'm saying? So I think it was just poor from Ferrari taking that risk. You know what the FIA is like. You know, always find that one little bit of detail. It's just a little bit work. It's the rules at the end of the day, right? And I just don't know why they lost so much points. They lost so much points from this game, which was because it will cost them. It will cost them in the future, these points. Yeah. So it was stupid of Ferrari, in my opinion. You know, Leclerc was doing well all sprint weekend. So was Lewis. You know, winning the sprint, and now all of a sudden dropping pace in the race. I just don't know why. I don't understand it. But yeah, it was just really unlucky. I thought Lewis would have had a good coming away with good points coming away from this weekend. When now he's only come away with a sprint race win, which is, I know he won it, but it's barely any points, let's face it. Of course, every point counts, but he would have rather more points in the race than he did in the sprint.
And the thing about it as well, what makes it even worse is that when you look at the constructor points now, they've dropped really down the packing order. I think you got McLaren and Red Bull and Mercedes near the top, and I think they're like 5th and 6th. So I know the season just started. We know that points can be got back, but when you start a Grand Prix like this, a season like this, where you know it's going to be close, you know it's going to be very close this season. Mistakes are going to cost you. Little mistakes are going to cost you, because you need to be on your game this season, because it's not just 1 or 2 drivers going for the title. There's at least 6 drivers going for the title this season, and all of them can still win. Obviously, you got the 2 McLaren guys that are favourites. Then you got the 2 Ferrari guys, and you got then you got the 1 Mercedes guard. So about 5 drivers can win it. 5 drivers. So I'd say 2 Mercedes. No, I'd say 1 Mercedes, the 2 Ferraris, Max Verstappen, and the 2 McLarens. That's 6 drivers. That's 6 drivers what can do it. You get me? That's 6 drivers what can do it. So I think it's a shame that what happened regarding the penalty, but Ferrari just need to get their stuff together, man. I don't think this has happened since. I think the last time they said this happened was 2004 with a team. I don't know who it was. I think it might have been the Williams. But come on, bro. Ferrari, a big boy Ferrari, you know what I mean, Toto?
Yeah.
Toto, I know we're going to get this video, mate. So let's start. You want to start with qualifying?
Okay. Yeah, let's start with qualifying.
Yeah. Actually, start with the practice, isn't it? Practice one.
Yeah, practice one. I just want to mention George Russell because
go on. That's what I was saying.
George Russell was looking good at the start of the weekend. Yeah. You know, being the pace settler in I think practice one. I think he was the pace settler in practice one, and it was half a second ahead of the pace, half a second above the pace. So it was looking good for Russell, but going into the sprint quali, and then all of a sudden being half a second off the pace, which is it was shocking because all practice they were doing well, and showing promise. Russell was
the fastest.
No, I meant after practice.
Oh, okay, when yeah.
He was half a second off the pace.
Practice. What I'm saying about the practice though, when he was the fastest, they was talking about on the commentary. Brundle was saying a lot on the commentary that that George Russell, he was the fastest in practice, but there was a bit suspicious if he was running lower fuel and if he had his engine turned up, because a lot of the teams usually when they have a practice session, they're clever. They put a lot of fuel in, and they like to do race runs, so they don't really like to just show their speed straight away. And I think when you got to the sprint qualifying, you could see the evidence was there that Russell, he did have the engine turned up, and he was running lower fuel. Because when you got, obviously, as a driver, when you got lower fuel, the faster the car is. So but at the end of the practice session, George Russell was smashing it anyway. He probably had it, like we said, he had his engine turned up, and George Russell.
That's what I mean in practice, like you don't really want to show your hand in practice. Like Russell showed his hand in practice. Yeah. We saw that he put everything to that. Only practice one as well. Usually practice two would do the quali sims, and maybe practice three would do the last of the quali sims as well. Because practice two, practice three would do the quali sims and some race sims as well. And the race simulators where they can predict what tires to pick. It's all a part of the data in it. Russell just all of a sudden just by out fastest time just showed his hand right there.
Yeah, but I reckon why he done it though. Because remember, this weekend usually you have 3 practice sessions through the weekend, don't it? With this session, there was only 1 practice. Usually on a sprint weekend, you get 2 practice. You get a practice 1 on the first day on the Friday, and then you got a practice 2 on the Saturday before the sprint race. But they've done it different this year. You're only getting 1 practice. So you have practice 1, sprint qualifying, then you have sprint race, then qualifying. They changed it. They got rid of the practice 2. So I think this is why George Russell was trying to test his car in practice 1, because effectively, if you look at practice 1, it's like a qualifying on a sprint weekend. Usually it's only practice, isn't it? But anyway, you could see the car anyway, even though George was smashing it, you could see that the car was fast. You could see the car was fast. So, let's get on to the sprint qualifying now. We're going to start with the sprint qualifying.
Yeah, sprint qualifying, Hamilton showed pace during the sprint qualifying. But you can see with Lewis, because I'm only pointing out Lewis because, the main highlight of the sprint qualifying, that he's not really a guy to show his hand in Q1, Q2. We saw this many years. He's more of a slow builder. He does just enough just to get through. And as soon as Q3 hit, what I liked about Lewis is his intelligence. Is that everyone went out first to go 2 laps on the soft tyres. And we all know the soft tyres take the least amount of time to warm up. So why not go and do 1 lap? Because I think the other drivers are thinking do 1 lap and soon as Q3 hit down lap. But again, that's more tyres being weared out. You know what I'm saying? So
because remember at the end of practice, that's what I thought as well. Because when Q1 started, Lewis Hamilton was the fastest at the end of Q1. So I was thinking, okay, he's the fastest, but will his pace last? Like we talked about before, will his pace drop off? But it never. He was the fastest. But the one what stuck out for me, or a lot of what the commentators were talking about, was Lawson. At the end of Q1, he was last. Plumb last. Now, what was your thoughts on Lawson coming last? He's in the Red Bull. We both talked about this, that we thought Tsunoda should have been the guy to go into Red Bull. Lawson was last in Q1, out of Q1. Ouch. for Red Bull. What's your thoughts on Lawson going out in Q1?
No, I'll go back to what Albon says. You know, all the car is designed to be around Max, and it shows it there. Like Liam Lawson's a great driver, come from F2 and F2 to Formula 1, with a good driver, you know, always finishing top in F2. Showing good promise. But Red Bull is either sink or swim. It's a sink or swim team. They don't give you no chances. Like when Pierre Gasly was there, they gave him 6 or 7 races. When Albon was there, they gave him a season and a half. So their second drivers barely get any seat time. When they do get seat time, they never get used to their car. They never really have their own dedicated setup or their own dedicated, feeling to the car, because it's always around Max all the time. And when you go there, it's usually because you're going to be a good second driver, and they know what they're doing. They're picking the drivers, nice guy, maybe a bit quiet, and you know, the one that is not a bit of a showman, more of like sportsmanship. You know what I mean? So with Lawson, I still think he has a lot to offer. He's only had 2 races in Formula 1, but it's poor. He's positioning, and you know what Red Bull's like. The more he goes on like this, the more chances of him getting sacked. Like Ted was questioning Horner, saying, "Oh yeah, you didn't really pay this off to Perez, did you? You know, because you were supposed to replace Perez with a faster driver, which currently Liam Lawson isn't a faster driver than Perez, which we all know." So you know, I like how Ted would challenge him there, because it is true. It is true what he's saying. Of course, Horner is not going to reveal nothing, is he? You know, he's proper media trained like that way.
Oh yeah, they're all media trained.
He's not gonna just change what he's gonna say. He's gonna say the exact same thing, but riddle it up in a different way.
Yeah.
So Liam Lawson, his positioning needs to improve.
Will it improve though?
Again, exactly. Because all the cars around Max, and none of the drivers seem to get used to it.
See, it is a shame, because I remember even before qualifying, actually after qualifying, Natalie Pickman from Sky Sports was interviewing Christian Horner and saying, is it possible that you could change a car for him? Is it possible you can do a few things? Because you've got a history of this. You had Pierre Gasly go to the team, Albon go to the team, or they didn't really work out. Even the only person what really was good with the team was Daniel Ricciardo, but he left, which was a mistake. But yeah, don't you think you should try and change the car for your style? He said everybody knows the main driver gets main priority, and usually the engineers try and work around the main driver. But in Mercedes, it wasn't like that. For the first season, it was. I remember when Bottas went to Mercedes, he was driving Nico Rosberg's car, and after that, they changed the style for Bottas, and Bottas adapted to the car. So I don't understand why they can't adapt the car to Liam Lawson's style. They can. The engineers, they're the smartest people in the world. They can do it, but they refuse not to. And maybe that's done by design. Maybe they don't want no one to challenge Max Verstappen. But if you're getting in as second driver and he's finishing last, that's going to cost them in the constructors, and that's down to them. That's self-sabotage. Yeah. That is self-sabotage, and it's a shame for Lawson, because I think Lawson's a good driver. Not as good. I think the rookies that are coming through are not as good as the rookies that was 3 years ago, when you had Russell coming through, you had Gasly coming through, we had Lando Norris coming through. Them guys, Albon, I think they're better rookies, but these rookies are still decent drivers. So, like we discussed before, I think Lawson should have went to the mini Red Bull team, and I think Tsunoda should have went to Red Bull. But maybe they probably thought if Tsunoda does go to Red Bull, it might be a challenge for Max Verstappen. What was your thoughts? What would you think he would challenge Max Verstappen, Tsunoda?
I think he would. I don't really see Tsunoda, he's got a hot temper, he's always, spouting, he's a race engineer. He's always battling with his teammate as well, so probably not this season, but the other season before, he's always battling with his teammate, always arguing, always showing his hot temper. I don't think that's the kind of driver that Red Bull is looking for. Red Bull's looking for a nice driver.
Yes, man.
That will yes, man. Basically like that. Just to say, oh, would you help Max? Yeah, I will. No problem. Oh, you're going to be second driver to Max? No problem. A kind of driver like that. I don't see Tsunoda being like that.
Yeah,
he's more of a like aggressive driver. He's more of the hot tempered, basically. Red Bull won't look for a driver like that. No, not in a million years. Not in a million years. If you look at all their drivers, Gasly, nice guy. Albon, nice guy.
Yeah.
You know, Perez, nice guy. You don't really see a driver that's gonna proper take it to Max. Yeah, they'll help Max, but never take it to him. They'll always have to be basically Ruben Barrichello. Basically, what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, Ruben Barrichello. So at the end of Q1, Lewis Hamilton was the fastest. Lawson went out. So we got into Q2. Isaac Hagar, another Hajar, another rookie coming through. For me, I think he's probably the best out of the rookies in my opinion. Just not in the best car. I thought he looked all right in the in his car, but he went out. He didn't really last. But the one thing I respect what he did, he gave his teammate Yuki Tsunoda a tow that got Tsunoda into Q3. That was nice of him. Didn't have to do it, but he did it. He gave him a massive tow that got Tsunoda, because I think if he wouldn't have gave him that tow, I think Tsunoda probably would have went out, but he got Tsunoda into Q3. So that was respect to him. Alonso was out as well, so very surprising Alonso going out there. Do you think, talking about Alonso, because I know we've been quiet about Alonso this weekend, you think this is probably Alonso's last season, or he's kind of coming to the end of his career now?
You can see that he's not really getting the best cars, is he?
No,
he's in Aston Martin. Let's face it, Aston Martin's not going to be a good car this season.
Yeah, but you think this is the end coming to this is? I don't think you think he's going to get another contract. I think this is coming.
When is the contract run out?
I don't know, but I think this. I've just got this little feeling. You know when someone's just done with it.
Yeah.
He's in his 40s now, and he's probably done what he needs to do. He knows he's never going to win a world title. I don't think he's going to win a title now. And he's kind of coming to the end of his career. He's still got the speed. Alonso. Alonso's one of my favourite drivers. I love Alonso. I think he's probably my favourite driver. But you can see that he's probably going to come to an end, because this is the way I see this scenario going. I believe that Max will leave Red Bull, because he knows Red Bull's not the fastest car, especially when the new regulations kick in. I think he's going to leave Red Bull, and I think he's going to go to Aston Martin. Then Alonso's going to leave, and he's probably going to, I'm not sure if he's going to hang around, probably go to Haas or somewhere like that. I don't know, but I think he's going to leave, and then it'll be a Max Verstappen and Lance Stroll and Aston Martin, because I can't see Lance Stroll leaving anywhere. He's only going to leave when he wants to leave because of his dad, isn't it? So that's how I see things going. But I think I'm not sure if Alonso wants to carry on driving, maybe, because Alonso said he's privileged to be here. He's kind of changed his rhetoric now over the years. It's like now he's thinking he's lucky to be there. He said it's a privilege being in Formula One, and I'm still being in Formula One. So I don't know what's going to happen to Alonso. I would like him to go on a bit longer if he wants to. Maybe he'll go to Haas or a lower team like that, innit? But we'll see what happens. But I just got a feeling. I think this is kind of coming to the end of Alonso's career. Alonso went out in Q2, and at the end of Q2 as well, Leclerc finished 8th, and Lewis was on the top. No, Lewis was 4th, and Charles Leclerc was 8th. So now I'm watching this now. Charles Leclerc not really showing his speed through the weekend. Toto, what was your thoughts on Charles Leclerc? Because in Q2 we weren't really showing his speed compared to Lewis Hamilton.
Yeah, I think if you compare him to Lewis is more outperforming the car. Like SQ2.
Yeah.
Lewis got 4th and Leclerc got 8th. So you can see that there was a pace difference. I'm not sure this is Leclerc's favourite tracks or is just track dependent. But these past 2 races, Lewis has been having over Leclerc.
No, Leclerc actually beat him in Australia.
In Australia, you got ahead of him,
Yeah. You was talking about practice now. Yeah. Fine.
No, I was talking about that all weekend. Lewis
all weekend, Lewis done him over.
Outperforming Leclerc.
Oh yeah.
So you can see, I don't know if it's track dependent. Like I said, I don't know if he's. Of course, he's used to the car. He's been there long enough, but
yeah.
I don't think it's one of those weekends where he just not his day.
Yeah.
Because Leclerc is a good driver, but he's more of a racer. No, more of a qualifier than a racer. Yeah. More of a qualifier. And we saw that. But the thing is, what got me baffled, we talked about at the beginning, is where he was more quicker than Lewis. And we all know why, because he's underweight. But where he was, when I was watching it, the way he was more quicker than Lewis, even though he had a damaged front end plate hanging off his car, scraping across the road, damaging his wing bit by bit.
No, we ain't got onto that yet, bro. I know what you're saying, though. Oh, yeah, I know that was weird about the speed difference between them. I know. So let's go on to Q3. Now, this is where experience kicked in. This is where championship experience kicked in. When you get, I'm gonna go straight to the end of Q3. Lewis Hamilton only done one run. The two McLaren guys done 2 runs on the soft tires, because when he got to the last stint, they had 2 shots at it. Lewis Hamilton had 1, and Max Verstappen had 1 run on the soft tires. That's all they needed. The two McLaren guys went twice on their soft tires. So obviously, you know, as a driver, if you put brand new soft tires on Toto, you know this, and you want to go for the last stint, you want to go for a qualifying run. When you do 1 lap, them tires degrade, innit?
Yeah.
The lap is not as fast as it is when you go on your first run. And this is what the Ferrari done. This is what Lewis did. He waited to the end, the last couple of minutes. He come out, done his 1 lap on the soft tires and got pole. Max Verstappen went out, done 1 run on it, got second. Now, we all know, watching this Formula 1 season, that the McLaren guys are the fastest. They've got the fastest car. Everybody knows that McLaren's got the fastest car. I know we're only 2 races in, but at the moment, they're the fastest car. So, they come out, they done 1 lap, they didn't nail it, they went out again. Norris locked up, went into the pits. He come 8th, finished, done. Now, I don't understand why he came into the pits, because some of his sector times look decent. Now, I would have just went for the, like past the checkered line and see what happens.
Yeah.
He just gave them and went into the pits, which I think is weird. And Piastri, I don't know where Piastri finished. I think Piastri finished, I think it was third. Yeah, where was Piastri, Toto? Do you know where Piastri finished? I think it was third, you know.
Third. Yeah, third.
It was third. So Piastri got first, Lewis was first, second was Max Verstappen. That was the top 3 at the end of the sprint qualifying. So, what's your thoughts on sprint qualifying? When Lewis got that pole, he broke the record. Broke the record. It was held by the all-time record was held by Sebastian Vettel, and it was 1:31.9, and that was back in 2018. And Lewis Hamilton broke that. I think he got a 1:31.7. He broke the record and got a 1:37. So what was your thoughts on Lewis Hamilton breaking that record?
No, I'm just glad that Lewis is back up there again.
Yeah.
We all know he never lost his pace, and he knew he never lost his desire.
Yeah.
I think this season he can do good things. I think the first 2 races you don't really know, but in the next 4 or 5, you know the pace is going to be there for Ferrari, and we saw this in China today. That the pace is there. They just got to get the strategy right, and just got to get their things in check. Because I really thought they had a good weekend.
Yeah.
But my overall thoughts, I'm glad that he got it. 40 years of age, breaking the track record like that. It's absolutely amazing.
Like
one of a kind, Lewis is. Yeah, he's one of a kind, Lewis is.
So,
yeah. But yeah, it was good, man.
The record actually, bro, was 1:31.9 held by Sebastian Vettel 2018, and Lewis broke the record, and the record was a 1:31.3. So we beat Sebastian Vettel, and now he's got the record for the China Grand Prix. And you know what? He's also won the Grand Prix 6 times, and he's also got 6 poles as well, and that included the sprint weekend, which is absolutely amazing by Lewis Hamilton. It's like every track he goes to, he's got the record, doesn't he? Every track he's always got the record. But anyway, let's move on to the qualifying. So the qualifying starts now the sprint race. So Hamilton and Max was pointing his car towards Lewis. We all know this. We all know what happens. Actually, I thought the FIA stopped this, but obviously they never. Max was pointing his car towards Lewis on the grid. This is before the sprint race, and we all know what's going to happen. Lights out, and away we go. Lewis got an amazing start at the beginning. What a start by Lewis Hamilton. Max tried to squeeze a little bit when he went round that first bend, weren't having it. Lewis Hamilton pulled away. And by these points, I think by the first lap, I thought, right, as long as Lewis can get out of that DRS zone, we're good to go. As long as he can get out of that DRS zone, he'll win it. So when Lewis Hamilton, what was your thoughts on Lewis Hamilton getting that brilliant start and then pacing away?
It was an amazing start. I thought, he done well to get away from Max. Max is like a multi-wheel, and turn one is always carnage or contact or bits flying off the car. Max is like, but it was great from Lewis. It was great start from Lewis. Holding that inside line. Overall, we cruised after there, didn't he? But look, my overall first thoughts on lap one, it was a good start by Lewis, and he done well to get away from Max because it would have been carnage in my opinion.
Yeah, because you can't trust Max. You know how he is.
Yeah.
You know how he is. So Lewis Hamilton ended up winning the sprint race. It was a brilliant race by him. His engineer at the end, him and him was having a good conversation. Him and Lewis. Lewis couldn't believe it that he got it. Lewis was surprised that he's at the end of the sprint race. Because well done. He went to the Ferrari guys. I think Charles Leclerc. Must be not bitter, but he must be thinking, look, bro, I was here before Lewis, and Lewis is getting all the praise. You get me? Because Charles Leclerc was the guy at Ferrari, and he was the man at Ferrari. Lewis is here now. Lewis is the man. You get me? All the Tifosi used to gravitate towards Charles. You get me? Even when the smooth operator was there, Sainz, they still gravitated more towards Charles. But now Lewis Hamilton is different gravy, isn't it? He's different gravy. So they're gravitating more towards. That must hurt Charles. He's never going to come out and admit it, but that must hurt him. That look, he was the guy for so long. Now Lewis is the guy, and maybe that's going to give Charles Leclerc that extra motivation, to go forward to do better. Because we all know Charles. Charles is more of a qualifier. When it comes to race, not so much. He's more of a qualifier, Charles. But it is what it is. Look, let's go straight into the qualifying now. At the end of qualifying, this is the qualifying for the race now. Oscar Piastri got because I missed the qualifying parts of it, so I'm just going to give you the results. It was Oscar Piastri got pole, second George Russell, third Lando Norris, fourth Max Verstappen, fifth Lewis Hamilton, sixth Charles Leclerc. So Lewis again beating Charles Leclerc in the qualifying. Isaac Hadjar in seventh, eighth Kimi Antonelli, ninth Yuki Tsunoda, 10th Alexander Albon, 11th Esteban Ocon, 12th Nico Hülkenberg, 14th Fernando Alonso, 13th Fernando Alonso, 14th Lance Stroll, 15th Carlos Sainz, 16th Pierre Gasly, 17th Oliver Bierman, and Gabriel Bartolo in 19th and 20th Liam Lawson. So that was a grid going into the race. So let's go. So the sprint race started. Oscar Piastri was on pole, showing his true grit, showing his true talent. That we all knew that Oscar Piastri was the guy going forward, and he was going to challenge Lando Norris. Lando getting third, and Oscar Piastri. What do you think of Oscar Piastri getting pole, man, going into starting on the grid first? I
just thought the McLarens just showed pace all weekend, in my opinion. I think, maybe in the sprint quality didn't really show, big pace, but we all know that McLaren has pace all weekend.
Yeah.
Piastri starting on the front row, we gave him a really, really big advantage. Because let's face it, they are the fastest car on the grid, and are really, really quick.
Yeah.
Once they're in front, they usually pull away. Piastri starting first, it's good for McLaren and good for the constructors, I guess.
Yeah.
Already there in a good point position, so it's good for McLaren.
So let's go. Let's start it now. Let's start this. Let me just bring this around so I can get it done. So bring my notes around. So Oscar Piastri getting a good start. I think his starts are getting really good now, Oscar Piastri. I think when he first come in, his starts weren't the best. There wasn't the worst. But obviously, as a rookie coming in, when you come into a new team, you got to get your starts ready, and that's what hampered Norris last season. His starts, that's what always, every time if he did get pole, Max would always beat him at the start, innit? So going into the race now, Oscar Piastri, brilliant start. He looked okay at the start. George was battling with Piastri. Him and George, I could see a potential rival going forward in the future, and I want to see that, because George, I think George is a really good driver, you know. Some people don't really give George the credit he deserves. You got to think about with George Russell, when he came into Mercedes, right? It's not like he went into Mercedes and the car was horrible. It was, remember when it had the what do you call it again? The bottling. The car was bottling everywhere. It was a crap car for at least 3 years.
Pole position.
For at least 3 years, that car was horrendous. Absolutely horrendous. George Russell stuck with that team. Now George, deservingly, is the team leader of Mercedes, and he deserves it. I think George is one of the best drivers on the grid. People don't give him credit. People always talk about Max Verstappen. People always talk about Lewis. People always talk about Oscar Piastri. People always talk about Lando Norris. George is that forgotten driver, in my opinion. George is a snappy driver. And you know, when he gets into the wheel-to-wheel situations, he's very good. He's very good. I saw him yesterday at that race, yeah? Again, the Chinese Grand Prix, when he was battling with Oscar Piastri, when he was battling with all the other drivers, and I'm telling you now, yeah, when he was battling with Lance Stroll, nice little a duel with Lance Stroll, George Russell, yeah, he's going to win a world title very soon. And he might be this season. He might be this season, because that Mercedes car is fast. And George Russell in that Mercedes car is going to do damage. He's going to be he's the guy that when everybody's going for, he's going to be in that top three, George. And he's a very good qualifier as well. Look at his record with qualifying, especially when he was with Lewis as well. Him and Lewis, when they was in the same team together last season, he was there. He was beating Lewis to qualify. I know Lewis wasn't, we knew that Lewis was not the Lewis he was last season in that car. I think he tapped out at the beginning of the season. When he announced he was going to Ferrari, we knew where it was going to go. But you still got to give George credit, man, how good he was. And I'm big up to George Russell, and I'm glad that he's doing well. And I would like him to win the world title as well, George Russell. I really want it, because he's a good driver. He's the forgotten guy that people forget, people don't talk about. But anyway, What was your thoughts on George Russell at the beginning when he had that nice little battle with Piastri? We know Piastri pulled away, but what was your thoughts?
No, I'm just glad he showed fight, in my opinion.
Yeah.
You know, we all know that McLaren is the fastest car, but it's good to see Russell show a bit of fight, because you know Russell's a good driver, man.
He's cold,
and it showed like the first 3 or 4 turns, he was up for it.
Yeah,
I reckon if it was maybe stay close to him in 2 or 3 laps when the DRS was open, it would have been a really good fight. But it was unfortunate. But yeah, when Russell was battling with Piastri, I thought, there could be something going on, because battles always involve and always favour the people behind you.
Yeah.
Because if there's a top 2's battling and there's people in 3rd, 4th, they'll eventually catch, because they're both battling in trading places maybe, or one trying to defend the other. They're all going to slow down in pace. So I was hoping for that battle to last longer, Russell, but I'm glad he put up a fight, man. He didn't just accept that, McLaren's quicker and just let him go. I'm glad that he showed something. I know he didn't really get anywhere and it didn't really work out, but I'm just glad he showed something.
He's cold.
You know,
he's cold, man. I'm telling you that, wheel to wheel, he's one of the best. Saw him, man. He's cold. It's rarely that he makes right. This is why I can't wait to see him and Max having battles as well. I love when I see him and Max battling together, because Max is the kind of guy, when it gets to wheel to wheel, you know how Max is in wheel to wheel. Most of the time it ends up in a calamity. Something happens. But with George Russell, he ain't getting bullied by no one. He's an aggressive driver and he ain't getting bullied by no one. So out of the way, lights out the way we go. Piastri got the best start. Russell was battling with him. Then Norris came along, because Norris was third on the grid. He came along. Him and Russell had their mini battle as well. But again, because of the McLaren as well, with the fresh tyres, you knew that McLaren was going to get ahead. But George put up a good fight. Lando Norris passed George, and that was it. So he had 1 and 2. Oscar Piastri. By the second lap, it was Oscar Piastri, Lando Norris, and George Russell, the 3 drivers at the top. We're going to see a lot of that this season, by the way. At the beginning as well, when it started, Charles' nose was slightly damaged. It was by tangling with Lewis Hamilton on that first bend when it turns around in Chinese Grand Prix. He tried to fit through a gap but wasn't there. It was Lewis Hamilton's line, and then what happened? Charles Leclerc damaged his nose. And I was thinking at the beginning when he damaged his nose, I think, no. What's going to happen is he's going to piss. Charles Leclerc is going to lose time, and then that's not really good for the constructors. But the engineer said to him on the radio, no problem, Charles. Everything's good. We're going to lose 20 to 30 points if you want to pit. And Charles Leclerc said, no, I want to stay out. And this was at lap 3 when his engineer told him. So when you saw his nose get damaged, what was you thinking? First thing you was thinking when you saw that nose get damaged when Lewis got ahead of him? It was fair because it was Lewis's line, innit? He kind of got sandwiched because it was on an angle. There's only so much you can move, but he damaged his nose on Lewis's car. What was your thoughts on that when you saw his nose damaged? Charles' car.
Yeah, but I think even though
when Charles damaged his nose, what did you think when you saw it hanging off?
Yeah, I was thinking, it's maybe minor because it was only a little bit hanging off, but there was still pace being scrubbed off.
Yeah.
Because when some end plate is scraping across the road, it's still going to scrub against your speed. It's still going to slow you down.
Yeah, I know.
So it was maybe minor, and it probably barely even affected him. It's still pace being lost.
Exactly.
Exactly. I didn't really get it how. I don't know if I'm going off topic here. How he was quicker than Lewis during the race with the front end plate.
Yeah.
But
we just thought, what was your thoughts? Did you thought it was Lewis's
fault? No, I thought it was going to be bad. It was going to be bad. I thought it was going to be bad for
Lewis's fault. That's why I'm asking. You thought it was Lewis's fault?
No. I don't think it was Lewis's fault. Lewis had right a corner. He went to whoever goes to the apex first has right a corner.
Yeah, but I don't think it was on the ape. Yeah, it kind of was on the apex, but it was that bend. You know when that bend where the road narrows on the Grand Prix.
Yeah.
There's only so many cars can fit through that gap, But I don't think Charles had a choice. He had to try and go for the move because he was getting sandwiched from behind. That's why he didn't even go to the stewards.
It was a late move by Leclerc.
Yeah, it was a late move, and I think we didn't even get flagged by the stewards. The stewards didn't even flag it either. So at these points, I thought Charles is going to go into the pits. He said, they asked him at lap 3, do you want to come in? He said, we're going to lose 20 to 30 laps. He says, no, I'm going to carry on. Lap 4, the first retirement of the weekend, Alonso again. Alonso went out in practice too. And in the race, lap 4, Alonso had to retire his car, brake issues. So I don't know what's going on with that Aston Martin. I know they're just putting Adrian Newey, but I think Adrian Newey's concentrating more on next year's car, the regulations, so they get that right. So this car is like a sitting duck. I think Aston Martin's going to struggle this season. I really do. I think they're going to struggle this season. Alonso, 8 brake issues. What were your thoughts on the Aston Martin going out on lap 4? Brake issues with Alonso.
Brake issue. I didn't really notice. I just think Aston Martin as a whole, all weekend they weren't really doing well all weekend, and they haven't really been showing performance. And it's been like this for quite some time now. That Aston Martin haven't really been showing promise in these races. Brake problems. Look, to be fair, I didn't really notice that during the race. I know it was mentioned, but I didn't really notice it in the race.
It's so fast. It just happened so fast. That's why it was just out at the beginning.
I just don't think it's not really a big shock with Aston Martin having a problem, because we've been saying this for quite some time, and it's been like this for quite some time as well. That Aston Martin's always had problems having problems with speed or engine problems, whatever. Just Alonso, for an example, he hasn't really had a good car for ages. Maybe when Alonso first joined. Okay. Yeah.
I know what you're saying. That's what I'm saying. He had a good car for ages, crap. And that's why I reckon next year they're going to concentrate more on the next year's regulations. That's why they brought in Adrian Newey, because I think Adrian Newey, I agree what you said. Adrian Newey, I think he's concentrating more on next year's car, because they want to get that right. Because if Aston Martin get it wrong at the beginning of the regulations, it's a wrap for them. They ain't going to get Max Verstappen. Max Verstappen will go somewhere else. So I think this season, I think that Aston Martin will struggle. I think they're going to struggle this season. And that's what I think anyway. So, lap 9, Max suspiciously started falling behind Charles Leclerc, right? Suspiciously, right? So everybody was thinking at this point, that Max Verstappen, he's going to lose speed. Everyone's going to take him over. I knew when I was watching this year that I said he's nursing his tyres. The commentators couldn't stop talking about it. We all know when it gets to China, if they want to do a one-stop, they have to nurse the tyres. And lap 9, Max Verstappen was 40. I think it was 4 seconds behind Charles Leclerc in the race. Lap 10, Ferrari guy said to Charles, plan B. And I think plan B was a 2-stopper.
Yeah.
Go on, you can say it, go on. You got your thing.
Yeah, plan B was a 2-stopper and they're able to do 46 laps on the medium tyres. Yep. So, yeah, the 1-stopper was good, but there was so much traffic. This is why they decided to revert back to plan A again, which was it was plan B, and then they reverted back to plan A.
Was 1 stop.
And then so plan A was 1 stop, and then they revert back to plan B because of the traffic and all that. And the undercut is quite strong here.
Yeah, big.
So why not use most of the undercut advantage and just pitting twice.
Yeah.
Hence be on
saving the tyres.
Yeah, so I think this is a really tyre heavy track. It can damage your tyres. This track, the way they have the bank corners, twisty bits, and that can scrub off wear your tyres because the likes of Lewis Hamilton had graining, Leclerc had graining, so they all had graining quite early. It's got 25 laps into the race, all had graining. So the 2-stop strategy
50 laps
was probably the So the 2-stop strategy was probably the best bet, and it would have benefited Leclerc because the undercut was quite strong.
Yeah.
So it was understandable why you reverted back.
It was lap 10. The Ferrari guy said to Charles plan B. Charles said on the radio, I would like a plan A, which we know was a 1-stop. The engineer said too much traffic, so we're going to stick to plan B. And Charles just said, okay, we'll stick to plan B. Charles just tried to do something different. There was a lot of traffic on there, and I think if they would have done the 1-stop, I think he would have got done behind the traffic. So the engineer was right. Lap 14, Lewis pits, put the hard tyres on 1-stop. So when he put the hard tyres on at lap 14, I was thinking it's going to be a 1-stop. Because if you look at lap 10, when the Ferrari guy says to Charles, Charles wanted to come in, he goes, no, leave it. 4 laps after, Lewis came in, put the hard tyres on, 1-stop. And guess who came behind him? Max Verstappen as well. He came behind him and put his tyres on as well. Lap 15, Piastri pits. Norris stays out, putting a lot of pressure on Norris from Russell, because Russell pitted the lap previous.
Piastri had a slow stop though, 3.8 seconds.
Yeah, but the pressure was from Piastri. The pressure was going to be from George, because George pitted a lap previous. He put the hard tyres on and he was gaining on Norris, which never pitted. So Norris had to put in a few good laps, then pit, so avoid the undercut, because Russell was gaining on him, because Russell pitted before, innit? So they had to pit Norris a few laps after. So when Piastri came in at lap 15, lap 16 they pitted Norris, because I think George pitted on lap 15 as well. So lap 16 they put Norris on. The pits and Charles came in the same time as well. They both put the hard tyres on, and then when the Norris came out, he was battling with Stroll, and he was battling with Stroll and Russell. So Russell was battling with that's what I was talking about when Stroll was battling with Russell. Had a nice little battle.
Yeah, Russell did well.
Wheel to wheel, proper wheel to wheel it was.
But Piastri did lose a bit of position, but the undercut did work for Russell really well. Pitted early, because like I said, the undercut's really powerful here. If you pit at the right time and you do a strong outlap, a strong outlap at the pit lane, you can gain a few track position. I know he got overtook anyway, but he did hold up Piastri a bit, and he did lose some time. Piastri, and he had to make that back.
Exactly. That's why when Piastri come out the pit, Russell was there, innit?
Yeah.
He said basically when Piastri come out the pit, he was lap 16, Norris, Pitts and Charles. And when they came out the pits, Norris and Charles, they came out, and the battle between Stroll and Russell that was there, they came out at a similar time. So when Russell came back round, they was all battling with each other. And then Russell was battling with Stroll, and Russell was battling with Piastri. It was a nice little battle between all of them, but we know what happened after that. Lap 17, basically Norris, on lap 17, Norris was still chasing George, but he passed him on the straight at lap 17. We knew it was inevitable that Norris was going to pass Russell on the straight, having that McLaren, because we know that McLaren is fierce on the straights, very fast. And he passed George and gained 3rd spot. So George was knocked down to 4th then. Lap 20, Lewis looked like he was losing speed. I think he was trying to save his tyres because I think Lewis wanted to do a one stop because he pitted at lap 14, at lap 20. I think he was just trying to save his tyres. The engineer said to him, we need to swap cars. Lewis said, okay, no problem, but he needs to get closer. So lap 24, 4 laps later, they swapped over. And then basically lap 24, Lewis on the radio said, come on guys, I need your feedback, because it was quiet on his radio. Joel said on the radio, Mercedes is a dragster at turn 12, unbelievable. So you had Charles Leclerc praising the Mercedes car, saying it's
the traction was wicked.
Yeah, brilliant, Russell. Absolutely outstanding. What's your thoughts on that, man? The Mercedes are looking good, bro.
They are looking good. Like I said, it's only the first 2 races, but you can see a fair idea where they're going to be in the future. Russell's doing well, man. And I think he deserves as much, good rewards as he gets, because when he first joined Mercedes, let's face it, Mercedes weren't in the best area. They weren't really the best car. They were thinking, oh yeah, I'll go to Mercedes. I'll start winning some stuff, but it wasn't really like that. It was a build up, and Mercedes now are looking good. So it's gonna be interesting. They're gonna be up there, but the traction in Mercedes is absolutely amazing.
It's bad, and it looks proper.
So I think they're gonna be up there with Ferrari and McLaren. I think Ferrari and Mercedes might battle it out.
Like the old days, like the 80s and the 90s.
Yeah.
Like the 70s, 80s, and 90s. Well, not the 90s, the 70s, 80s.
Yeah.
Lap 29. I'm looking forward to it. I think this season is going to be very close. It's always the same at the end of the regulations. So the last 2 years of the regulations, everyone's caught up. It's always like this. So lap 29, McLaren radio said to Norris, we have told Oscar to help you. Basically, that means drag Norris to pick up speed to try and get out of the undercut from Russell. As you alluded to earlier, you know that the undercut is very powerful here at China. So McLaren was very clever to say to Norris, I think McLaren was very clever to say to Oscar to help out Norris so we can drag Norris along, because Russell, like I said, was gaining on Norris, and if he wouldn't have dragged Norris, Russell would have done him on the undercut. So McLaren and Norris, to get out the undercut, they need that 4-second gap between Norris and Russell, and they got that because Piastri helped him out, which was smart by McLaren. You can see that they're working very tactically, and that's what they need to do if they want to win the world title again. So Max 31, Max puts a hard tyres, still not showing any pace with his tyres. So at this point, everybody's probably thinking Max is probably going to not even get in the top 5. Lap 35, the rain, the engineer come out to McLaren and said there's a chance of rain for 3 laps.
There was no rain in here, was there?
No rain. I think there was a little bit of rain after when the race finished, but it was just damp. Not much rain. It's just the floor looked a bit damp, but the rain never came during the race. Lap 37, Max was gaining on Lewis. This is where we started to see the speed from Max Verstappen that we always knew it was there. So you could see he was sandbagging. You could see, right, he's gonna go for this. So when I saw him gaining on Lewis, I knew Lewis was gonna pass Lewis. He didn't actually pass Lewis. Lewis went into the pits. So Max Verstappen was gaining on Lewis. Lewis pit on the hard tyres at lap 38. So Lewis was going for a 2-stop. I think the idea from Ferrari was that he was gonna pit, and then he was gonna try and catch up Max, which I thought was weird because Max only pitted at lap 31 on the hard tyres. So when he pitted Lewis on lap 37, I was thinking the tyres are not that much older, even if he just tried to catch Max. And I thought it was a mistake. I think they should have just kept Lewis out there, and Lewis should have just went for the 1-stop. I thought they brought Lewis in too early before. I think they should have kept Lewis out longer. That, in my opinion, because when they pitted him earlier.
Yeah, he could have got involved in the undercut.
I think Lewis should have stayed out. I think Lewis should have done a 1-stop because he knew his car weren't as fast as the Ferraris. Faster than Leclerc's. I think the only hope for Lewis Hamilton in this race that they shouldn't have pitted him on lap 14. I would have picked Lewis at lap 24. They should have kept him out longer, but it never happened. So what was your thoughts on it?
Yeah, they should have, because like we said, he undercut strong, and I think pitting too early in this track is a big mistake, because how are you going to get involved in the undercut? Yeah, maybe during later on in the race you might get involved with the undercut when everyone pits.
I was just laughing at something on here. Sorry.
But
I know you're laughing. I can see it. Go.
What? But yeah, you can see that Lewis could have waited a bit more. Maybe would have got involved in the undercut more later. But the tyres, yeah, would have weared out more.
Why did we have to have the echo earlier? Go on.
So yeah, overall, yeah, he should have waited a bit. He should have waited a bit more, and then wait until everyone else pits, about to pit, then pit just before they're about to pit, right? And then the undercut could have worked even more.
I would have said to Lewis, go to lap 30, then I'm pitting you. That's what they should have done. They picked them on lap 14. I would have waited till 30, then pit him.
Yeah.
Anyway, lap 35, lap 37, Max was gaining on Lewis. And like I said, they pitted Lewis at lap 38. I would have pitted Lewis at lap 30, and I would have done the one stop. Lap 46, Lewis was not really gaining on Max, 42nd behind him at this time with 9 laps to go. So that idea of him passing Max when he come out the pits was for the fairies. So that was lap 46. Lando said at lap 50, his brakes was playing up. Russell was gaining on Norris very rapidly towards the end of the race. And I thought at one time Russell was going to catch him. He was having problems with his brakes. The engineer kept coming saying to Lando on the radio, be careful with your brakes. Your brakes could go at any time. I thought, you know what? Just hold it down, man. Be careful. The last couple of laps towards the end of the race, he was literally drifting around the corners because his brakes, if he would have put any pressure on his brakes, if he would have put any pressure on his brakes, he could have had a DNF. He could have been a wrap just like that, but he never. Lap 53, Max passed Leclerc. So all that speed, he was sandbagging. Max passes Leclerc, and Leclerc was basically a sitting duck. Towards the end of, I know what I'll do it in a minute. Towards the end of the race, Lewis was 4 seconds behind Charles Leclerc, Toto.
Yeah.
Now, earlier in the race, Lewis moved over for Charles Leclerc. Do you think that Charles Leclerc?
I reckon Lewis.
Is that on my new X or my old X?
Your new X.
Yeah,
new
go
X. Ahead. I reckon, right, because I reckon Lewis was still battling for position. End of the day, right, I don't think they should have swapped positions. They only should have swapped positions when they know Lewis can't really swap for position no more. I think overall,
why can't you be professional when doing a video, man?
No, overall,
come on, man. Go on.
I just think that to swap positions, it should be Lewis not being able to not being able to fight for no more position, because when they said to swap positions, he was still challenging with Stroll. You know what I'm saying? He was still challenging with Stroll.
Yeah.
So I'll think to myself, hold on, why are you asking to swap positions?
Yeah.
Right. When Lewis is still challenging for positions, you know what I'm saying?
No.
So change.
Yeah.
Only, yeah. I just think they should have swapped positions more later on.
No,
because Lewis still had more to offer.
Lewis, the beginning, right? No,
Lewis
was moved over from Charles because Charles was the fastest car.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is, towards the end of the race, Charles was losing time. At the end of the race, he was losing loads of time. Max passed him. Lewis was only about 3 seconds behind him. And do you think that don't you think the Ferrari, in my opinion, I think they should have, because Lewis moved over for Charles, don't you think they should have swapped them back?
I know what you're saying now, because Lewis did his part, and Leclerc's job was to, get as far ahead as possible, finish ahead of Max.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, to me, I think they should have swapped positions, which I think we should have swapped back, which I think was a bit out of order why they didn't.
Yeah.
I'm not going to get into all that. I'm not going to get into what saying. Oh, you look throwing him
I
over.
just think they should have
more
swapped him
logical
back because
position, should have swapped back.
Lewis done a good thing moving over for Charles. He didn't need to. He could have said, "Look, I'm going for a one stop. I don't want to move over," but he did. So we moved over for Charles. Towards the end of the race, Charles was losing time. Max Verstappen passed him, and Lewis. I think towards the end of the race, I think Lewis was 3 seconds behind him. I think Ferrari should have done the right thing and said, "You know what, Charles, you're going to move over for Lewis now and let Lewis get the position." But they didn't. But it is what it is. I'm not going to hold that against Ferrari. I'm just saying that's what I would have done. So the race finished. Oscar Piastri got the win. At the end of it, Oscar Piastri got the win, did the official race results. I'm not going to say it. I'm just going to do the top 5. So Oscar Piastri got the win. Lando Norris, George Russell, Max Verstappen, and Esteban Ocon. Now with the top 5 race results at the end. So Esteban Ocon getting 5th place. That's crazy, man. But we know why he got 5th place, because what happened with the Ferraris. But Esteban Ocon ended up inheriting 5th place from Charles Leclerc. Anyway, so we know what happened at the end. What's your overall thoughts on the race?
Overall thoughts, I thought it was a decent race. I think the strategy was very, very vital. You know, getting the strategy right is vital, man, because the undercut is really, really vital here. So if you can pick the right time, it will benefit you. So my overall thoughts on my thoughts on the race overall. I think it was a good race. I thought it was a bit weird, you know, with Ferrari and Lewis Hamilton losing pace over Leclerc.
Yeah.
Considering Leclerc had a front wing end plate damage, but still was faster. There was something going on there, which we already know. There was a underweight. There's a weight issue with the car. So yeah,
they're gonna learn.
Overall,
they have to learn from it, bro.
Yeah.
They have to learn from it. They need to go forward and they have to learn from it, because at the end of the day, right, they can't make mistakes like these. These cost them a lot of points. If you look at the constructors title, I'm going to look at the drivers title at the moment now. I'll do the drivers title. So at the top, we've got Lando Norris with 44 points. Max Verstappen second with 36 points. Third, we've got George Russell with 35. Oscar Piastri fourth with 34. Very close. So you got the top. These are the top 4. Oscar Piastri 34 in 4th place. George Russell is a point in front of him, 35 points. Max Verstappen is 1 point in front of George, 36, and Lando Norris is on top with 44 points. So between number 2 and number 4 is very, very close. So Lewis Hamilton and Charles Leclerc should be there with the last points. Charles Leclerc's only got 8 points. And how many Lewis points? Where's Lewis Hamilton? Lewis Hamilton is 9th with 9 points, and Charles Leclerc is 10th with 8 points. You know, they're way behind that. You know, they're in the double digits. You get me? They're on like 34, 35, 36, and Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton is on 8 and 9. You get me? That's because of what happened on the weekend, and it's a shame. This is why I think they took everything off him, bro. I think they might have took the sprint race off him, you know. Yeah. You know, why has he only got 9 points?
Oh gosh,
that's what it seems like, isn't it? The constructor points. McLaren top 78 points. Mercedes second for 57. Red Bull third 36. Red Bull's not getting the constructors. The mods have just sat that already. They're not getting no constructors. No way. I think it's between McLaren, Mercedes, and maybe Ferrari. But yeah, it's a shame what happened, but they've got to learn from their mistakes. They have to. Look, I've got a statement just coming now. Ferrari just issued a statement. Says, Ferrari have issued a statement after the news had broken that both drivers had been disqualified from the Sunday's Chinese Grand Prix. Charles Leclerc was found to be below the minimum weight, while Lewis Hamilton was found to be breach of the technical regulations relating to the rear ward skid. Leclerc was the first of the 2 teams' mates to have his results scratched off the record books, having initially finished 5th. His car was found to be 1 kilogram underweight, despite being weighed by replacement front wing. After the Monegasque had damaged his damaged his car in the first race, he completed the Grand Prix without the end plate. Alpine driver Pierre Gasly was also disqualified for the same rule breach. Hamilton was then called to the stewards after his car was examined post-race, and it was found that his rear wood skid was below the minimum thickness required. He too was disqualified after originally finished 6th behind his teammate. So they've lost a lot of points for him. Following the FIA post-race scrutiny in both cars, our car was found to be confirmed to be to the regulation for a different reason. Ferrari said the following confirmation was both drivers were disqualified. Car 16 was found to be underweight, like I just said, and the car was under skid. And it's a shame. It's a shame that we've, it's a shame that it's come to this and it's lost a lot of points. The positive is it was at the beginning of the season, not toward the end of the season, so they can still catch up the points in it. But it's going to be, that's it, man. It's our final thoughts on it before we head off.
My final thoughts, I think, coming out of this Grand Prix, you can see McLaren is the pace setters for the season.
Yeah.
They got a really fast car. I think Ferrari and Mercedes have got potential to be up there as well. Ferrari showing promise and Mercedes showing like great cornering speed. Mercedes got great cornering speed. So tracks like Singapore, Monaco, maybe Baku, something like that. It will be interesting, and some tracks will be track dependent, like small, wiggly tracks. Like this, Monaco, for example. Like I said, Mercedes, because it seems like they've got lots of traction coming through the corners.
Suzuki
and like Leclerc said, it's like a dragster. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So, Mercedes looks like they've got a good cornering speed. I think Ferrari just needs to get the strategy together and start changing stuff. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So, overall, it was a good weekend.
A funny review, even though we had to start it twice. Well, yeah, we started it twice, so it is what it is. Look, guys, we're going to be heading off now. Look, smash that like button. There's Chris Welch, he's back. Sorry, lads, I have to laugh at Ferrari, yeah. It is what it is, bro. But it's over now. The next one will be in 10 days, 4 hours, which is the Japanese Grand Prix. One of my favourite tracks. One of the best tracks on the calendar. 3 best tracks on the calendar. Silverstone, Spa, Suzuka. Them 3. I know the drivers love them as well. So this is a proper driver's track. It's going to be interesting to see not Red Bull, but interesting to see Ferrari around this track because their cars are good on the bends and them little slow speed corners and some of them. It's going to be interesting to see, but I really, really love this track. This is one of my favourite tracks. And it's going to be good, and it's going to be in 10 days and 4 hours. So it's going to be a week off now, 10 days off, and then it'll be back on the grid. So big up to everybody. Chris Wells, big up to you. Remember to smack that like button, guys. Big up to the man them. Big up to the woman them. Big up to everybody. See you later, guys. Big up. Bye.
Big up, man.
On the brakes, Leclerc has that inside line. Perez goes off the track, comes to chicane, off goes Leclerc.